The 2nd May against the free trade unions. The directive ordered that the SA and the SS men were employed in the planned occupation of the trade union properties and for the taking into protective custodies of personalities who came into question. At the conclusion of the action, the official NSDAP press service reported that the National Socialist Factory Sales Organization had eliminated the old leadership of free trade unions and had taken over the leadership themselves. Similarly, on the 3rd May 1933, the NSDAP press service announced that the Christian trade unions have unconditionally subordinated themselves into the leadership of Adolf Hitler. In place of the trade unions, the Nazi government set up a German Labour Front, DAF, controlled by the NSDAP, and which in practice all workers in Germany were compelled to join. The chairmen of the unions were taken into custody and were subjected to ill treatment, ranging from assault and battery to murder. In their effort to combat the influence of the Christian churches, whose doctrines were fundamentally at variance with National Socialist philosophy and practice, the Nazi government proceeded more slowly. The extreme step of banning the practice of Christian religion was not taken, but year-by-year efforts were made to limit the influence of Christianity on the German people, since, in the words used by the defendant Bormann to the defendant Rosenberg in an official letter, the Christian religion and National Socialist doctrines are not compatible. In the month of June 1941, the defendant Bormann issued a secret decree on the relation of Christianity and the National Socialism. The decree stated that, for the first time in German history, the Führer consciously and completely has the leadership in his own hand. With the party, its components, and attached units, the Führer has created himself and thereby the German Reich leadership, an instrument which makes him independent of the treaty. More and more, the people must be separated from the churches and their organs. The pastor never again must an influence and leadership of the people be yielded to the Reich government, and by its direction of the party, its components and attached units have a right to leadership of the people. From the earliest days of the NSDAP, anti-Semitism had occupied a permanent place in National Socialist thought and propaganda. The Jews who were considered to have no right to German citizenship were held to have been largely responsible for the troubles with which the nation was afflicted following on the War of 1914-1918. Furthermore, the antipathy of the Jews were intensified by the insistence which laid upon the superiority of the Germanic races and blood. The second chapter of Book 1 of Mein Kampf is dedicated to what may be called the master race theory, the doctrine of Aryan superiority over all other races, and the right of the German in virtue of this superiority to dominate and use other people for their own ends. With the coming of the Nazis into power in 1933, persecution of the Jews became official state policy. On the 1st April 1933, a boycott of Jewish enterprises was approved by the Nazi Reich cabinet, and during the following years, a series of anti-Semitic laws were passed, restricting the activities of Jews in the civil service, in the legal profession, in journalism, and in the armed forces. In September 1935, the so-called Nuremberg laws were passed, the most important of which was to deprive Jews of German citizenship. In this way, the influence of Jewish elements of affairs of Germany was extinguished, and one more potential source of opposition and Nazi policy was rendered powerless. In any consideration of the crushing of opposition, the massacre of the 10th June 1934 must not be forgotten. It has become known as the Rhone Purge, or the bloodbath, and revealed the new methods with which Hitler and his immediate associates, including the defendant Göring, were ready to employ to strike down all opposition and consolidate their power.